All right, everybody. So it is Black Friday, and wanted to go ahead and take some time and make a video for you guys that we can use for the rest of the year as a resource if you needed it, and also just to give you some clarity on the next thing we're going to do. So between now and Christmas, here's what we've got. We've got just one of our normal articles that you have to submit and turn in for a normal article grade. 30 minutes, knock that out. You've got your presentations, and you guys have been given the dates for when you're going to give your presentations. You've got a final, which is going to be the Monday before Christmas, which is going to be one of our normal articles. We're going to do that in class under a ticking clock, and that's going to count as a test grade. And then we're going to introduce to you guys this the last type of assessment that's on the AP World History exam. So on the actual exam, there's two parts to the exam. The first part is an article. It's the same thing we've done all year. You get an article, you answer the three parts of the question to the article. No big deal. Okay, we've gotten pretty good at those. The only things that we need to do at this point is probably do more of them in class under a ticking clock just to keep practicing. However, there's a second part to the AP exam, and we are going to let you do this as a take-home, okay, for the first one. The second part of the AP exam, what you're going to get is you're going to get 4 sources, appropriately named Source A, Source B, Source C, and Source D. What you have to do is you have to look at those sources, and you have to come up with, well, what is a problem, and then what is the solution? Okay, so it's the same thing that you would do on an essay at home, like one of our big typed essays, I should say, except now you're going to do it in class. 4 sources, and minimally you have to use 2 of the sources to make an argument. Now, you've got 90 minutes to do this, so it's going to be an instance where you might take 20 minutes to carefully read the sources, highlight the sources, and make connections to the sources. Just to give you an example, I'm scrolling through it. The sources are not long. So this is source A. This is about the Pueblo, who were a Native American group of people, and how they migrated and their connection with nature. Source B is also under a page. It's about something called garbage, art, and housing. Source C is an excerpt from a classic book by Henry David Thoreau, Walden. Again, about economics, but it's a little bit deeper than that. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing for you. You can read it there. And then D is how biomimicry is inspiring human innovation. So each of these excerpts, each of these sources is roughly a page. So it might very genuinely take you 20, 25 minutes to read all 4 of these sources, highlight key components of it. But again, what you're then going to do is you're going to write an argumentative essay. And the trick is you have to use information from the documents as supporting evidence for what the problem is, and then your solution. Now, we're going to go through how to write this essay, and I'm going to show you the rubric. But fundamentally, okay, this is something I used to tell my AP World History. I tell my AP World History students. I'm going to say this to you as well. If the requirement is you use 2 of the 4 documents, if you can make 3 work, that's great. And while the requirement is only to source the documents each one time, the more you can source, so the more you can source the document, the better. So if you can source A in 2 different paragraphs, that's great. All right. I want to go into what the rubric for this is. So this is not a hard thing. I don't want you guys to get like overworked about the difficulty of this. Sorry, I thought I had this part of it pulled up to where we were at. Or do I have the wrong? I might have the wrong thing up. Hold on just a second. I do. Give me a moment. No, I just hit the right. So what you want to do with this is, since there's no time requirement for how long the essay needs to be, the question always is, oh, how long? Actually, because there's no word count, the question always is, how long does the essay need to be? I would suggest as a basis, as just like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to start this essay. Again, the idea of the 5-paragraph essay, and then what should be in the 5 parts. Opening paragraph. Your opening paragraph should have the context of what the problem is. And then at the end of your opening paragraph, you should have your thesis. And your thesis is going to be, and here's the solution. The opening paragraph is a great place to source at least one document to start to show what the problem is. Okay. So let's look at what the criteria are. And as always, all we're going to look at is the high point criteria. So we're only looking at the high box. Number 1 point is establish argument. This is a 6-point scale. The response identifies a theme or issue connecting the providing sources and presents a perspective that is not presented in one of the sources. So let me be really clear about this. You can't argue for a solution to a problem that is in any one of the documents. So if you had one document that's about poverty, and one document that's about social issues, and one document about a crisis in education, and a 4th document about the need for art, you can't take an idea that's in one of those documents and then argue for that. You have to come up with an original argument. So you might take the document on poverty and then the document on social injustice, and then you might say, so you've taken information from these documents, you've presented what the problem is. The problem is that our system, we have too many people in poverty, and our political system needs to be improved, and the solution is Ron DeQuatro should become dictator of the world. That's not something that's in any 4 of the documents, but you're looking at these issues and you're saying, okay, here's the problem. Now, this is the original solution I'm going to come up with. So your solution has to be original. And then you take evidence from the documents to support the ideas. Well, the existing educational system leaves too many of our children behind. But Ron DeQuatro has taught in a variety of different schools. He's taught in Title IX schools. He's taught in elite academic institutions. And his experience with such a wide variety of students would be helpful and beneficial. And his expertise, if he was the dictator of the world, would help solve our educational issues. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm being silly here, but I want to point out to you, I'm just trying to show you that's what you're arguing for. You're arguing for something that's not in the documents. You're using the documents to say, here's the problem, or here is a problem that at least 2 of the documents points out. Now let me argue an original solution. Okay. That's box number one. Box number two, the response's line of reasoning is logically organized and well developed. The commentary explains evidence and connects it to claims to clearly and convincingly establish an argument. I would suggest, like I said, the 5-paragraph essay model, which means you have 3 body paragraphs, which means you have 3 main ideas for why your solution is the best solution. And your 3 main ideas become topic sentences in a body paragraph. So I should be able to read the last sentence of your opening paragraph and say, okay, this is what their solution to the problem is. And then I should be able to read the first sentence of your 3 body paragraphs. And these are the 3 main ideas for why you think that's the best solution. This is a really great and simple, and yes, it's formulaic way of writing this. Write paragraphs that are in depth. I would strongly, strongly urge you that despite the fact that the guide says you only have to use material twice, you try to use material in every paragraph. That will put your information over the top. And if you argue for those 3 main ideas, that's logically organized and it is well developed, which is what this bar needs to get to this point. Okay. The commentary explains evidence and connects it to your claim. This document shows this problem, but it also says this could be a solution. And here's why it relates to my big idea solution to the problem is. Okay. Box number 3, the response appropriately synthesizes relevant information drawn from at least 2 of the provided sources. So you must use information from 2 different sources at least one time. I am really strongly suggesting, again, try to use at least 3 sources if you can be creative and use it effectively, or even 4, which would be amazing. And don't have a body paragraph without a sourcing. When you source these documents, you source them as source A, source B, source C, source D. You don't have to be any more complex than that. It's like in a DBQ where you just say document 1 or document 4. In this one, it's source A, source B, source C, source D. Remember, this whole essay, after you've established your context in your opening paragraph, is I'm arguing for the solution to the problem that I showed in my introduction. And you're going to draw evidence from the documents to connect it to your original solution to the problem. You use the documents in the opening paragraph to set the context for what a problem is, and then the body, use evidence from the documents as part of, now here's my solution. So those are the 3 main boxes. Establish an argument as far as what the problem is and what is your solution. The second, establish argument box, which is it well organized and well developed? Hey, deep, insightful paragraphs. Don't just shoot for 5 sentences a paragraph. You got an hour and a half to write this puppy. Okay. Selective use of evidence, and then you should have. And by the way, you should have a closing paragraph to give a synopsis of ideas. The 4th box is applying conventions. This just means, is it reasonably well written? Okay. Now, let's get to this point. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay. They understand that you've got a ticking clock and you're trying to write and put together ideas for some things you've just seen. If you have the chance to write your whole essay in like the first hour and you finish, and then you have 30 minutes to rewrite it clean and grammar check it, great. But if not, it is acceptable. Well, and this is true for all your AP classes and any AP writing. If you mark through something it's like it's not there. So if I'm reading your essay in class and there's a bunch of stuff that's marked through, or maybe you realize at one point there is a lowercase a, it needed to be capitalized, and you put the big A over it, you get all of that benefit of the doubt. We understand what you've done. You wrote your rough draft, and now you're going back and trying to fix it. If there's a comma where it doesn't be and you cross it out, that's fine. That does not get in the way of applying conventions. Okay? What does get in the way of applying conventions is if I am reading a bunch of stuff, you don't have complete sentences. Remember the whole nouns and the verbs thing. That be important. The grammar, the word choices, it becomes redundant. It's not as strict as AP Lang probably is, but it is more strict than what you would have had in AP World. They expect this to be reasonably well written, given the pressure of the moment, reasonably well thought out, and again, insightful. If you are writing less than 2 full pages, and that would be handwritten front and back, you probably haven't written enough. When you write these, you have to write it in pen. That's why I was saying you just be crossing stuff out versus erasing it. For this first one, it's going to be typed, okay? And it's due that Monday before Christmas. So you have time. Theoretically, this is an hour and a half of your life. If you're having to spend a lot more than an hour and a half to do this, then you probably don't understand it. The other reason I'm giving this to you, and the other super strong suggestion I would make is, once you've done your presentation, some people are going to be doing this very early, or even if you have time before then, start tackling this thing now. Because if you tackle it now and then you get to a part where you don't understand it, you can ask questions in class. Now, I'm not saying that you can ask questions about, does this work? But as you're writing this, you can ask questions about, oh, am I doing this right? Is what exactly has to be here? All of those sorts of things. If you wait till the night before to start working on this, you're going to lose the benefit of having questions answered in class. Okay? So it's going to be take home. You've got over 3 weeks to do this. And yes, I know you have presentations coming on, and you're going to be working on those in class. But we wanted to introduce this to you. So it's going to be in Canvas. All the materials you're going to need to do is in Canvas. Look at the documents. Put some thought into it. Okay? And everything needs to be your own original work. Do not talk to one another about what potential solutions are, because that would be really odd if I had 8 people say, hey, here's the same problem and here's the same solution, and then I'm going to know people are having conversations with one another about this. Remember, everything has to be original. I should see original problems coming up with original solutions from 4 very uniquely different sources. So good luck. I'm proud of you guys. If you bomb this, this is only counting as an article grade this time. Didn't want to make this super heavy the first time that you did this, but at the same time, my expectations are that you are going to be able to do this and do this very well, just based on the quality of work that I've seen so far this year. So, got any questions? Ask them now. You've watched the video. Email me the questions, and y'all have an awesome day.